Hi everyone, this is Mommy Has Info, and today I'm going to talk about working from home. Um, when I first started working from home, I wish I had a tutorial to tell me about the pros and cons as well as getting started because it's a lot that ties into it. It's a lot of shock value once you're hired, the many things that you have to do. So I'm here to walk you through that and to help you get started and transition into working from home. Okay, so we have a little checklist here. We're going to discuss today the benefits and disadvantages of working from home, getting started, the equipment you may need, who's hiring, and my experience working from home, different tips, training that's needed, and a couple of other things. So let's start with benefits and disadvantages. Okay, now we'll go into the benefits of working at home. You're with your family. If you have your kids in daycare, if you have kids, that's great. But if they're big enough, like 10, 15, 16, they can be at home with you. Hubby or girlfriend, wife, boyfriend, you'll be around your family and you don't have to wonder about what's going on or what's happening at the house. Something's going on and I'm not there and I'm far away from my home because I'm at work. So it takes the complications of that out. Also, you get to save on gas and mileage. I know when I was working outside of the home, it took me an hour and a half one way just to commute to the job that I was working. And it didn't pay that much. So that's one thing I'm very relieved when it comes to that as well. Number three, you don't have to deal with traffic. If you live in places such as New York, California, even certain parts of Georgia, yes, you have to deal with a lot of traffic, specifically rush hour. So this definitely helps with the headaches and the migraines that you would normally get from dealing with that. Number four, you don't have to spend money eating out. I know when I worked outside of the home, I would always eat out because I would either forget about my lunch, accidentally leave it at home, or, sometimes when your coworkers eat out, you want to eat out with the group. So that definitely saves a lot of time and money on eating out and paying for it. Number five, working in your PJs and your flip-flops or house shoes or um, bare. So either one. That is one of the perks, in my opinion, to working at home because you don't have to pay a lot of money for expensive flip-flops and, okay, not flip-flops, but expensive business suits, different attire, casual wear for a casual day. If you want to wear PJs or nighties, you can do it because you're in the comfort of your own home and you don't have to display a webcam. So that's definitely a perk. The hours, depending on the work at home job, I've discovered that 90% of them have a good flexibility when it comes to work hours. So that's definitely something to consider. A good example, one company will allow you to work a block of 2 hours and say, for instance, you have to pick up your child from school because they're not feeling good or the daycare decided to let out early. You can work that 2 hour block, go pick up your kid, have lunch out, or go to the mall or run some errands. And when you come back, you can schedule another 2 blocks or you could be done for the day. The only thing they would require is if you work at least, I'll say 10 to 15 hours per week. And you basically choose your own schedule. Now that's certain companies, but we'll get into that as time progresses. Number 7, guilty-free days off. And what I mean by that is when working from home, sometimes you have your worst case scenarios. And if you're working at a brick and mortar job, they would tell you, well, I know your car broke down, but you can't take off today, or I know your car broke down, so you're going to be penalized for that today. Working at home is so much different than brick and mortar because they're a little more relaxed when it comes to family issues, emergencies. They're more forgiving than the brick and mortar jobs. So you have more flexibility when it comes to that. If you needed to take a couple of days off because you're moving, you'll be able to do that. Just give them a notice and let them know what's going on. And more than likely you won't be penalized for doing it or lose your job. Unless you're taking off for like several months and a year, then yeah, you might get fired. But in most cases, they're very understanding because you're working from home and they know that family will come first. So that's something to take into consideration as well. Number 8, working from the comfort of your home. That's the best perk I can think of. You're at home. Kick off your shoes, get a lazy boy chair or office chair, something comfortable, and just relax while you're taking calls. It's an awesome opportunity. Now, let's get down to the bottom of the disadvantages of working at home, or as some say, the nitty-gritty. Number 1, yes, the pay is low. When I first started off, I thought I was being punished for working from home. I thought I was being punished because the pay it can be terrible in the beginning. And you won't like it because in some cases, training can be your state's minimum wage, or it could be around $9. So that's something you really have to think about. Are you willing to take a pay cut? Are you willing to work for minimum wage? Are you willing to work for a lower pay grade than you would at a brick and mortar? It took me a good 2 weeks to really deal with that and struggle with that, but I knew that working from home was the best situation for me, and that flexibility, I knew that I needed it, and I also knew that I had to create other types of income, and we'll get into that as well. So definitely brace yourself for the low pay grade. Now, after, with some companies, 90 days, but most that I've discovered, after 6 months, you can move to a different opportunity within the job because they hire within. So once you move to a different position, then, sure, you're going to get paid more. So that's something to definitely look forward to. But in the beginning, yes, the pay is going to be low. Number 2, in most cases, you have to supply your own equipment. 95% of the companies out there require you to have your own laptop, your own headset, your own phone, all the works, all of it. Back in the day when you would work from home, they would supply the computers and all the equipment that you needed. But now that so many people are working from home, they have it as a requirement that you supply it yourself. And it can get expensive. My advice would be to, check out Walmart, Amazon definitely, eBay. No, not eBay because it's hard to return it if you go through eBay. But Amazon, Walmart, um, Office Depot, they have some pretty good laptops. If you start next year or in January, you can probably take advantage of Black Friday. They have laptops starting at about $200, so that could help as well. So definitely be prepared to spend quite a bit of money on equipment, and we'll go through that as well. Number 3, they are very strict when it comes to a noise-free environment. They will terminate you if you have very heavy background noise. So you would have to put the doggies up, the kitties up. If you have any small children, possibly daycare. Big kids, make sure that they have an understanding that you need a noise-free environment because that's very crucial to the job. And back to number 2, the equipment. I forgot to mention that after purchasing all that, you do receive a tax write-off with your taxes, so that's something good to note. And you can write it all off, so that's a perk, I guess. Okay, number 4. While training, you will notice, usually at a brick and mortar job, the training can be, I'll say like 4 weeks or 6 weeks of training. When you're working from home, more than likely they'll cut it down to 2 or 3 weeks, and in some cases 1 week. So the training hours are shorter for work at home. You'll have a full schedule, 8 hours. However, when it comes to training, yeah, they want you to get it all in at a shorter period of time than you would a brick and mortar. Okay, so number 5, hour blackouts. And what that means basically is if you start your shift after training and you do your scheduled shift, sometimes if there aren't any calls in the queue, let's say you work from 8 to 4. If they only have calls within the queue from 8 to 12, instead of working 8 to 4, you'll just work that 8 to 12 block. And if they have something available from 2 to 4, then you would pick up your shift from 2 to 4, but be off in between. So there will be blackout periods. So I want you to be prepared for that because it can be tedious. That's one of my pet peeves. But you have to be prepared for that. Sometimes you may not have a full 8 hours. Or if you work part-time, sometimes you may not have a full 6 hours or 5 hours per day. So just be prepared for that. But if you're coming into the seasonal era, like starting from November to March or April, you'll be pretty good with the hours because a lot of people are spending, and the more that the consumers spend, the more hours you get and the heavier your paycheck. Yes, the consumers, they make a difference, so it's always good to be very polite and have a really good attitude because even though it's a cliche, they really do make your paycheck. And we're all consumers at the end of the day. So you would want to treat someone the way that you would want to be treated. But that's all that I have for the benefits of working at home. So let's put that down there and go back to our checklist. Okay, now we have getting started.